Welcome, everybody. It is me. It is the Cyber Warrior, and this is CyberWarriorStudios presents what? Security Happy Hour. So bear with me for a second. I promise we're not going to be gone long, but I'll be right back. And we're back. So look, hey, with me today, I have an amazing guest. He's been on here once before, but he's come a long way in his journey. So unfortunately, Eric Bellardo, my normal partner in crime, the Cyber Papa, is not joining us tonight. He will be with us in spirit as he is at a conference for Cyber Jitsu, doing a bunch of great things for Raices. However, in his stead, we have myself, as always, and the great Christoff Humphries. And that's Christoff, me. I gotta know, man, because
yes,
you were on the show a while back, kind of a student of the game, trying to learn your way through and figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're a pen tester. So talk to us a little bit about that journey and how you got there.
All right, sweet. Yeah, the last time I was on your show, I was doing sysadmin stuff, and I'm not sure exactly when it was, but I don't know if I passed or failed the OSCP exam, but basically I got started with watching Infosec videos on the internet. I know a lot of people probably heard it before, but I'm going to repeat it again because I'm the guest. But basically, I just got obsessed with watching those videos, and I'm like, you know what? I want to try it. Like, I always wanted to be a hacker back when I was getting started doing computing, like probably everyone else. And then I decided just to give it a go. And eventually I got that OSCP, and due to some help with some friends, I got also, I think, fast-tracked to getting a job, so that worked out.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy because, I think you were working on your OSCP. I don't know if you had gotten it or if you failed it, but I know you were working on it. And Infosec has done great things for a lot of people going for their OSCP.
Oh, yeah. He's a godsend, and he's so nice, too. Like, I haven't met him in real life, but we've conversed, like, through email and chat and stuff. But, yeah, I think he said he started doing the Hack the Box videos for a friend that needed to pass the OSCP exam. But, yeah, the last time I was on, it was just a sysadmin with, PagerDuty alerts going off and being burnt out and hating my life.
Don't we all get there? Even in cybersecurity, we get to that point sometimes. We get burnt out and say, fuck this shit, I'm done.
Yeah, hopefully I got a little while longer. I'm still new. I started working in December 2020. So during probably one of the worst years of our life, that was also the time when I had the best things happen to me, where I got the OSCP over my shoulder and then got a job doing it.
Yeah, that's when I changed companies late 2020 and got my OSCP that year. Got my GREM that year. I had a few good things happen that year, actually. It was crazy. Everybody else was like, I'm suffering. I'm like, you know what? I get to sit at home and fucking do what I love. So, we'll be all right. But yeah, it's crazy because, you had this journey and you've gone so far, but you come from a lot of the same background I did of sysadmin, being in IT. I mean, maybe not for as long as I did it, but still long enough that you had your chops in IT way before anything else. Like you had been doing it even before you got into security.
Yeah. So I'm 43. So I was doing sysadmin and programming for those 20 something years until I got the OSCP and the job when I was 42.
Yeah.
So I'm always a little bit of a late bloomer. I didn't get married till I was 40, and I saw that somebody said networking is key, and that's true. That's what I tell people that are like, hey, I want to be a pen tester. How do I do that? And I don't have the answer for everybody, but I would say that 50% is like all the skills you need to actually do the job, and the other 50% is networking. At least for the idea of getting a job, but
at least your first job. I wouldn't even say all the skills. Your first job is more networking than anything, in my opinion. And that's just because, and actually, Dave Kennedy put up a post today about trying to get like how hard it is. Everybody claims there's a cyber skills gap, but nobody wants to bring in, entry level people. They
Yeah.
call it entry level, but it's like, hey, you need 2 to 3 years experience. And I feel that because that's a lot of what the culture that we're trying to change with the organization I work for and what Dave Kennedy's doing, and there's a few other companies out there doing, is, we want to bring in interns or junior level people. And by junior, I mean legitimately
like real
you tell
junior.
me you've gone through college and or done some hack the box research type of shit. I'm going to try to bring you in if you have the ability to learn. And that's what it comes down to. And so, companies aren't doing that. But here's the thing, and here's where the disconnect is. So you as a pen tester, and it's your first job as a pen tester, right? You had no enterprise experience. So essentially, you got the job based off of your OSCP and kind of your learning and your IT background.
Right. Yeah. Plus the way that they sort of do it here where I started working at, it was Critical Start at the time. Now it's CyberWarriorStudios, but Team Aries.
Wait. Hold up. Let me stop you there. You work for Team Aries.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have a talk with them motherfuckers. I visited Critical Start. I actually have a lot of their executive staff on my, I've talked to them where I know them. They're good people. They're fucking smart.
Well, there was a company split where the Team Aries and some of the value-added reseller stuff, org was separated off. But yeah, they're pretty awesome. I love the company. But I mean, they don't just throw you to the wolves. I mean, they do with web apps, right? But it's not difficult.
Right.
It's the same stuff you've been training for, the same stuff they interviewed you for. And we are hiring. We're looking for mid and senior level people. But, like you were saying to Dave's point, this company does, I think, invest in the, building up juniors. So, I'm a junior. But, yeah, they don't just take, interns. We have an intern now, but I don't know if it's, a standard practice. But I did see Dave's post. It was a thread. It was 10 posts, I think.
It was 10 posts. I read them all. I read every last one of them.
Well, that's I mean, it's the hardest part, right? When you're trying to get in, just getting in is the hard part. Once you're in, it's fine. And then you find out the shortage isn't of newbies, hungry noobs. It's for people that they can just hit the ground running. Yeah. Or even lead teams of other pen testers on an engagement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's been the problem. So the organization I work for is we want to bring in new people. We want to bring in interns. We want to bring in people that we can train up and teach them how to do blue team and red team and all these other things. But here's the problem. If I don't have enough staff at a senior level that can mentor people, I don't have the bandwidth to constantly train. So if you can't do the job out the gate, then I can't bring you in because I can't sit there and babysit right now.
Right.
And it sounds bad, but the reality of it is these people can learn, and that's awesome. And I want to bring them in, but until I have the bandwidth and I'm not on client meetings all fucking day, I can't sit there and be like, hey, we're working on this. Go ahead and do this, this, and this, because then that cuts into some of the time that I do, service development or, my own research and learning so that I can continue to grow. So we need to be able to bridge that gap. And by that, if you're putting out a junior role, that means it should be fucking junior. That means you should not need, if you're going to put experience on there, if that's what you're looking for, it better be IT experience, not security, not pen testing, because that's no longer junior.
Well, it also seems, I mean, I'm obviously going by very limited knowledge and just talking with other pen testers, but it seems that, say, compared to sysadmin or software development, that the difference between a junior and a senior as far as the years of experience is way compressed, right? So So you could have a mid-level after 2 years and a senior after 4 or 3, depending on how brilliant they are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Versus,
It is very easy. It is very easy to get promoted within those ranks and work your way up because, with a sysadmin, it did. Even help desk. If you look at help desk, system administration, networking, you got raises, but you really didn't get promoted for a while, right? You didn't hit that next tier of like mid or senior level for maybe 5 years at a time.
Right. Exactly.
In cybersecurity, you give me 2 to 3 years experience and prove to me that you have the ability to research and that you have actually done you have open source code or something out there that proves to me you know your shit, that I'm gonna look at you and go, you know what? You're actually more mid-level.
Right.
Like I don't need 20 years experience for mid-level. I don't need 20 years experience for fucking senior level. I'm looking for what you bring to the table. I'm looking for your ability to work with clients. I'm looking for your ability to if a client says, hey, I'm running CrowdStrike and you're on a pen test, do you know how to bypass it?
Right.
If you do, because that puts you beyond me, because I had to have them fucking disable that shit because I didn't have the time in my day to research how to bypass CrowdStrike, and then I got mad because I found a bunch of posts that actually could do it. But,
right.
I was like, hey, look, disable this. I was like, please, because it is denying every fucking thing I'm trying to do. Like every script, every fucking thing. So knowing those things, it's if you have these abilities, which you can learn young, there's people that coming out of middle school and high school far exceed any of my knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
I will bring them motherfuckers in with, look, I'll bring you in as a con too, as long as you have people skills. I'll bring you in as a junior as long as you have people skills, because I guarantee you, once you develop those people skills and you're able to talk to people, then your knowledge can transcend that, right? Because now you have both sides of the coin.
Right.
And that's as a consultant. So,
we do contract pen testing, but it's mainly the seniors or managers that are on those calls. I will say, Frank, it's not impossible to get a first job in IT as a pen tester. Very difficult, but not impossible. Yep.
Oh, Joe Howe, the mayor. The mayor's awesome. I love the mayor. Me and him are friends. I love my vets though, so it's a habit. Me and my vets get along. As a veteran myself, we just click on a different level.
I like your energy. You're standing up, moving around, and talking with your hands. I love that. It's so expressive.
I have to, man. It's one of the things. So look, all right, we're gonna get back on topic, I promise. But this is my fucking show, and I'll do whatever the fuck I want. So I will say this. So one of the things that have been talked about a lot, and I was actually talking to a buddy about earlier, was everybody's like, oh, how do you get, they're like, oh, you grow big on YouTube by doing this, that, and the third. And it's all about your marketing and thumbnails and everything else. And whoever does not see that flying around, I'm gonna fucking kill it eventually.
I saw it.
I keep seeing it in my camera. I'm not gonna get it. But me, I'm energetic. I love to bring motivation and inspiration. And I love to be me. So if I take what I do and start to play with somebody's head and mark it towards the subconscious, it takes more energy and it makes me do something, and it makes me feel like I'm not me. So the way I see it is, if you're watching this show, and for all, it says 15, but I'm sure it's probably up to 20 or 30, and StreamYard's just not counting, right? For anybody watching this show now or watching in a recording, this is me. This is who the fuck I am. And you're either going to share this video and like it and comment, or you're fucking not. At the end of the day, I'm not changing who the fuck I am. And that's just how it is. I may never make it big, and I don't give a fuck, because I'm here for the people, not for me. If I was here for me, then I'd start playing mind games with people, and I don't it ain't worth my energy.
Well, if you're going to build, it seems that you have done really well, is to build this personal brand. The easiest way to do it is to be yourself,
If you're not honest,
you don't have to maintain a lie or a cover or anything. It's I'm just me. I'm free, having a good time. Let's talk to some people. Yeah.
Kevin, hey, KevTech, I see you out there. in the comments. Good seeing you there. Cheers. This one's to you, buddy. You need to get yourself some Yingling.
Yeah, I see you got Yingling Lager.
Yeah, I did have a few IPAs today. This Baby Shark was kind of disgusting, and it was 5.5. I had a few others. One of these days, some beer brand is going to sponsor me. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to start getting free fucking beer. They're going to save my ass some money. I don't give a damn. But, yeah, so go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, well, you know, Critical Start and all them are down in Dallas. So I was just in Dallas not that long ago. And one thing that surprised me was seeing Yingling on all the taps. You know, because I'm in Pennsylvania.
They just put that there. They just put that there. That was Yingling. The Yingling Brewery just went to Texas within the past few years.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, and you still can't even get it in the Midwest. It's like in Texas, and it's only like so far away. Because I know when I was in Kansas, when I was stationed at Fort Riley, I couldn't get it. I even messaged Yingling, and I was like, look, fuckers, I'm a veteran. Actually, I'm active duty. Can you please mail me some beer? And they were like, no, we ain't allowed to do that. I was like, come on.
Yeah, just put it on a pallet. We'll get the money together.
Right? Like, come on. But it's one of those things that, like, I love my beer. For me, it works, because especially in security. So I don't know about you, but when I did my OSCP, by the time I got through a few boxes and I was like, all right, I'm pretty damn sure I'm going to pass at this point, I cracked open a few beers and just started going through it like it was a good time. It wasn't, at that point, it was no longer about the certification. I knew I was going to get it because all I had to do was the report. Like, I wanted to get all the boxes. I don't know if I ever did, but I wanted to. So I had fun at that point. That's all it was for me after that. Once I got that passing score and I knew, okay, I'm at least at 70 or whatever, I was like, cracked the beer, was like, all right, let's have some fun now. Let's figure this shit out. Let's just go for it. And that's what it's about. So I think people take things too seriously, especially in cybersecurity. This job, as a pen tester, you're constantly beating your head off against the wall. Constantly. I can't get in. I can't figure it out. They say there's an exploit, but it's not working. What's wrong? What the fuck is fucked up in this script? Whatever the case may be. All these issues. And people are afraid to just take a breath and relax. And that's how we get burnt out. Especially as pen testers. Because you sit there and you're just beating your head against a wall time after time over dumb shit that doesn't matter. If you can't get in, you can't get in. It's as simple as that. Hey, you write your fucking report, as you do 90% of the time of any pen tester's job, and you're just like, hey, found this vulnerability, was not able to get in, but just to let you know, it is there. It is a known vulnerability. And you've done your job. Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping you get in. There's times I never get in, but you hope that you're kind of hoping, like, man, I want to have some fun. Can I privilege escalation? And can I move through the network? Like, can we make it happen?
Well, I think the lessons learned from taking the OSCP exam, I think, helped me in my job in that way, because I think the first two times the real reason I failed was unable to keep a cool head. And so I learned to take breaks, and when I saw myself spinning my wheels or getting in a negative or state of mind where I couldn't maintain objectivity, I just took a break. And so I still do that now. I mean, there's additional pressures now when you start pen testing a new job, when, like, you know, you're put on a project and you look at the previous reports, say if you're doing a repeat, and you're like, how did they find all this stuff? Like, none of this stuff's here now, and I'm not finding jack shit but, like, expired JavaScript libraries or, like, a dumb, you know, alert box that comes up that doesn't mean anything. Like, it's just, you feel dumb, right? Because you're like, there's got to be more. Like, and you don't know what you don't know yet, which is also frustrating. But I think working with some really talented people, I found that there was nothing wrong with my process or where my state of mind was. It's just the more senior you get, it seems the more you're experienced, the more you've seen it, the more it's not so unfamiliar anymore.
Yeah, and
And
you're used to that. You're not a failure. If it
right.
doesn't work or if you don't find it, it doesn't make you a failure. It
No.
either means A, they patched it or fixed it in some way,
Right.
or B, you just missed it. Shit happens. And
Yeah.
sometimes the tools fail you. Because you got to think about it. And in reality, and I hope anybody who is aspiring to be a pen tester at any time in their lives is listening to this, you have to understand everything is a tool. And so if you run an Nmap scan, which is how, as pen testers, whether it's Tenable or any other vulnerability management software or scanning software or Nmap, and you're doing all the manual labor and lifting yourself, whatever you're using, it's still a script that's just looking for responses, and scripts can fail. They can give you bad data. It is very, very easy. So you just have to be able to do your research. And that's what it comes down to, is sometimes you get bad data and you don't know it until you're in there and you're like, oh, this should work. It says it's running this version. But it didn't get the version header. It was just the way it responded and kind of the way things happen. And you're like, this should work. And it doesn't. And you're like, huh,
Yeah,
what did I do wrong?
Those are easy to move on from, especially version numbers reported remotely, because a lot of operating systems, they'll backport patches but keep the major and minor versions the same, or keep the versions the same themselves.
Yep.
Especially ones that are like long-term support versions.
Dude, anybody still running anything less than 1.2 at the very least needs smacked in the face. If you're running 1.1 or less, you need beat. For anybody on podcasts, we have a comment here that says TLS version 1.0 and CBC ciphers for the win. And that's because we still see it in industry today.
Yeah. Once I started getting on some internal tests, that's when it started to become fun.
Yeah.
Because it was like the networks and I wasn't a Windows admin, but I did some networking and did like all the infrastructure for a lot of stuff. It was kind of cool to be into someone else's network, and like get to like poke around, and usually the walls are down a little bit more than they are on the outside, right? You're like, no one's gonna see this, or they forget about stuff, and it. But I go back to what we were talking about before with being a pen tester. I think one of the things that kind of took a while to get used to is that when you start a project, it's exciting. You have like 1 or 2 days, you get all your scans, enumeration. But then you only have like X many days, so you have to stop and just wrap up your report. So that's generally the hardest part, I think, is getting used to working in that way. So you don't sort of work too hard in one area for too long, because you might not leave yourself time for other places.
So, I've fallen in that rabbit hole. I've done it. You find something, let's say, for instance, a 0-day comes out during your pen test, and a client reaches out and says, hey, we may have this software. What did my dumbass do? Completely disregarded the entire fucking sample report and the vulnerabilities we found, and dug into the goddamn rabbit hole of, they got to be fucking vulnerable to this. I'm going to fucking find it. They didn't patch it yet. And nothing worked. But I spent almost a day and a half digging into that shit. You fall into rabbit holes. You forget about the time crunch, and you're just having fun. And that's where you have to get your mind right, is that after an hour or two, if nothing's worked, move on to the next. Notate it. Say, hey, you have this version, or we recognize this version. We couldn't do it. Move on to the next vulnerability. Because if you don't, then you're probably going to screw a company over. You're going to end up not pointing out shit that you probably should have found.
Yeah. I mean, they're entrusting you to do this job, and they're paying you a lot of money for it too. So it's worth it. I mean, for you in your role and your own process, but to the customer themselves is to be a good steward of that time. And so I like that you mentioned note it down, because that's key, because the way I work, or the way I like to work, is most of my decisions of what I'm going to do are fact-based. So they're based on the data, unless it's something I get a hunch about and I try it but doesn't work out. Which is what I used to do when I started doing CTFs.
Yeah. And here it goes into the CTFs and pen tests.
Yeah.
Robert Notar Francesco, and hopefully I pronounced that right, because I messed it up whenever I did my video last night for him, because he was on the show recently. Do you have go-to checklists that you go through for each pen test? Do you have kind of like a process that you go through for everything?
I do. Well, we as a group have a checklist for a lot of things, but I think mainly use that like when I get stuck or I need to reset. Because I think each of us has like our own like workflows and the way we're used to working. But yeah, we do have a checklist. So in the same way of being a responsible steward with the customer's money, do make sure to check those, like for web apps and internals and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a big thing, is it's not a corporate or like a company checklist. It's a personal one of things that you things you need to hit. SNMP, NMAP, SMB, is Telnet or something, like all the ones that are like big hitters that an attacker is going to look for first. Okay, well, let me see if these are some of the vulnerabilities you have.
Well, it's not even that for me. Like it's more for the so like say with a web app, like there's so many different things to test, like I
hate web app,
but there's so many individual things that you may not that may not be at the forefront of your mind, because say you're working on trying to exploit some form, or you're working on a specific problem, but you may forget that, I have 3 users. I need to see if I can get admin stuff as a lower level user. Like, how are their cookies? Can I reuse cookies? Like, stuff like this, or session cookies specifically, but things that should be checked every test, but may not be at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah.
But generally, when I'm doing port scans, it's usually I like to work in a multiple layer approach, where I start the big hitters first, and that scan finishes quickly, hopefully give me something to look into, and then I start making it bigger and bigger until I get all the ports on all the IPs, hopefully. But
So I got a question for you on that, because there was a tool I used on my OSCP and on Hack the Box and Try Hack Me and stuff like that.
Right.
But I haven't used on a pen test yet. I've actually thought I probably should start using it, and that's Auto Recon. Have you ever heard of Auto Recon?
Oh yeah, that's Tiberius's. Yeah, that group's awesome. And he
Have
has
you used it on a pen test?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it could probably be helpful, but
I'm just curious.
It just feels
it
feels irresponsible. I don't know.
I've looked at the tools that he uses in there and the things that he does, and it's nothing outside of what we would do on a normal basis, because it's all tools.
Right.
You're not brute forcing anything. You're not trying to break into anything. You're legitimately running the scans and maybe doing some pull downs of like websites or whatever, but you're not, and like subdomains, but you're not actually exploiting anything.
Yeah, it's entirely customizable, right? So you can decide what's going to run, what's going to happen whenever these ports open up. Like that's all configurable in the app.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a really good app. Like, but when the OSCP exam,
tell me they didn't ban it. I'm a smack somebody if they ban it.
No, but your priorities are different, right? Because your main enemy is time, and you maintaining objectivity over time. So if you just have the same things that are just hammering these CTF boxes, then who cares? It's not a customer environment. you're only going to report on what works. You know, with the OSCP exam, you don't have to report on what they did well. You don't have to note what you tried and didn't work. So I don't know. It's not the same. Like, it teaches you the right skills. It did for me, but the objective is different. Like, you have 24 hours to get X amount of points.
Yeah.
Go. Like, you know, and your
And
report,
it is
my report is
different.
complete shit too. Like, it was just, here's the IP, here's what it was, here's what port, and here's a screenshot, maybe another screenshot with some words around it. You know what I mean? But this, I have to tell customers what they did well too. I have to also make sure when I'm running stuff, like maybe they have, you know, a network that's slow to respond, or like maybe I crash some network device because I'm just going, you know, in map T5. You know, it's like sometimes like I would try to be have more kitten mittens on the internals.
Yeah, and I get that, and that's one of those things. That's why I always look at it as it's my internet is being jacked up right now for some reason. So hopefully everybody can still hear me and see me, and hopefully StreamYard doesn't get mad.
Your audio's still good, so that's good.
Robert says he lost me for a fraction of a second, which means he probably lost you too, which is fine. We caught everything. Cool. It was literally like a blip. I just see my internet signal for some reason drop down to not even a bar on my StreamYard. But yeah, so no, I look at it and it's one of those things where we try to automate everything because reports are a pain in the ass. And we are put on time crunches for pen tests because you want to try to give them the best value for their money.
Right.
And I think that is problematic because I get it and I understand it, but it's very difficult to find everything in such a short amount of time. And even if you look at like bug bounties take months, sometimes years. And they're working on the same application over and over and over.
I think
to finally find something.
I think it's important to remember that your job isn't to find everything. Your job is to emulate an attacker to the best of your ability for the time you're given. And I'm also one of those weirdos that happens to like writing reports. So
yeah, I knew there was damn it, Chris.
So like I don't mind it. Like I don't like some of the tedious reports where there's always customers that have and I'm glad to do it, but it's just tedious of custom reporting. Like some customers may have like, they need separate spreadsheets with custom data and all these columns and all this kind of stuff in addition to the, PDF report. But I love taking all this stuff and putting it into a story and knowing that I get to craft this statement of fact as we see it and give that to the customer as their final product. Like I love that part. I love thinking that I'm helping, which can be a little frustrating because you see the same problems over and over again and they don't seem to fix them at times. But they're hiring you to supplement or check their security.
Yeah.
Before a bad guy does, and then there's real problems. So I take that seriously. I like it. It's a different role. I'm not. It's great for me because I don't have to fix shit. Like,
yeah.
I just report the problems, give recommendations, and then like I'm out. It's contract pen testing. So,
Yeah, for sure. And I'm all for that, and I think it's just a matter of perspective. You know what I mean? So it's how you want to. Some people get into it because they think it's fun, but you have to realize you're still there for a customer. You're still doing something for a client, and you want to give them the best value. But we do have a question here from Robert. Do you ever run into IT departments that get offended when you find holes in their networks?
Well, it depends. it's not really on you. I don't do a lot of the communication with clients and boards. That's more for the seniors and managers, right? Um, but some people definitely can get defensive. When you're because it's easy, I think, for engineers to feel like what's their responsibility is sort of their baby, or maybe they're insecure in their job, or they have a toxic work environment. Who knows? But that's not my problem. Like, I mean, really, like you're paying. I'm doing exactly what you asked me to do. Like, I'm sorry, we did it well. Like,
Yeah. But again, the problem comes down to, and here's all right, and I'm gonna touch on this, and we've touched on it previously in a different episode. So go back and watch all 82 episodes I have. You'll find it eventually.
No big deal.
But the big thing is like that communication between security and IT, right? The security is there to find the holes, to then mitigate the risk if it's possible, or and kind of figure out a way that the business can be enabled and the business can operate without having wide open internet and wide open networks. So that's the point of security being there, and that's the point of the pen tests and your security teams and your vuln management and all these other things. So I don't think any pen tester, none that I've talked to, has ever had like someone getting offended that they found something just because they're not in on those conversations. That is a conversation between the client security team and the client's IT team. Not to say they don't get offended, just saying I have not been privy to it.
I haven't been privy to them being upset. I've been privy to having conversations, and some of the conversations are easier than others, where they sort of take it personally in a way. But I mean, ultimately, we're there as the same team. That's how I view it, and I think that it should be viewed. You're hiring me temporarily to be a part of your team. Like, I want you to succeed. I want to find everything. Like, And
that's the big thing, is finding the holes. Now I got another question for you. In your short time so far as a pen tester, you've done a lot of have you done a few internal pen tests?
Yes.
What has been the worst EDR you have faced? And by worst, I mean the hardest to get around.
I haven't gone that deep yet, to be honest. Like, we haven't hit it where I think pretty much every internal we've gotten domain admin where we haven't had to deal with EDRs.
Who the fuck are your clients? Get the hell out of here. Bullshit.
No, I mean, it ranges. Like, obviously I can't say who, but,
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, there's some pretty talented people that work here. But also realize, like, no matter how big or small the company is, it's still people. Like, you're attacking people. There's going to be shortcomings everywhere. I think one place that I was a part of on an internal, I was so excited. But they had their shit together. I think they had to knock down like 3 layers of security of different gates we had to go through to get deeper to finally get something. And it's companies like that are truly amazing. And they're $1 billion corporation, right? So they were nailing it on every point. It was insane.
Yeah, I find that the hardest for me I'm always glad and happy when I run across companies that are actually managing their EDR, meaning they don't tell their blue team or their monitoring agency or their MSSP that this is going on. They want to see what happens.
Oh,
and so when you're doing something and you get shut down and isolated and told, fuck you can't log into this computer anymore, that is amazing to me and I love it. But at the same time, it fucking sucks, because that means that they're actually watching their EDR and I have to be more quiet about what I do.
Well, just to be clear, I'm not a red teamer. We do red teaming, but that's not what I do.
Yeah.
So pretty much for pen testing, they're supposed to open up the doors as much as possible,
Okay.
and whitelist us. So they definitely see us, and we've been detected a couple times, but
Well, yeah.
they're just supposed to let us through.
We do things. I've done things on a different scale where we want to see if we can get around your EDR, and in order to do that, you can't whitelist us. But the problem is they don't notify them, and so then I get isolated and blocked from the network.
Yep.
Can't get into the system anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
So it is. I completely agree.
I haven't been on tests that have had that requirement yet.
Yeah, when we do things, I want to test everything. I want to know if your MSSP or your blue team or whoever is running your SOC or whatever, or your EDR is responding. I want to know that any automation controls you have in effect are in effect working, because then when I do my report, I can sit here and commend them on functioning properly. And so things like that I look for. And so unless you're looking for a red team engagement of, hey, I don't want to know you're here because I truly want to test my blue team, then I'm not looking for me personally. I'm looking for, I want you to see me and act. Like, that's the point. I want you to see me. I am going to run every script that every EDR and AV should probably know about. And if you don't stop me, and that means you aren't looking, and there's a bigger issue there.
We do report successes. So say you're on a Windows machine and you put Mimikatz or something on the machine. Suddenly it's taken care of. It's deleted, isolated. Yeah. We report that. But it isn't a blocker unless they just flat out block us, because then it's like, hey, we can't do the job you paid us to do because you just blocked us. So could you not?
I get in conversations with them. Is like, hey, this happened. Why can't I get in? And then they find out, hey, our monitoring team locked you out. Let me fix that. And so usually it's really
awesome.
Quick. But those are good things to me, because I had already known CrowdStrike was stopping me. I'd already known I was getting blocked on the machine itself and doing certain things. But then to find out that the team is like, hey, this has been like 2 or 3 times this motherfucker tried to pull some shit. See ya. And you're like, fuck. All right, cool. At least they're doing their job. Like, at least somebody's working.
Well, I love calls that I've been on where customers sort of have their shit together, and they caught you, they saw that you did stuff, and like, like, hey, were you guys running Responder? Or, like, hey, did you guys try to do this? And it was like, yeah, we did all those things. Like, good job. Like,
Yeah.
Like, I love hearing that. It's like they're doing a good job for them, but they're also doing a good job for the customers they service.
Yeah.
So some like, wily hacker doesn't come in and just start stealing, wrecking the place,
And that's the biggest thing is all right. So as a pen tester, our goal is to find the flaws. That's your goal. Find the low hanging fruit. Find things that you should be able to get in, get out, and be done, and then move on to the next. Find as many as you can, and work your way up until you find kind of the harder ones that are more advanced and
take more time. Yeah.
So if you can get to that point and find the ones that require a custom script with custom code and custom everything, then you can say, hey, like, y'all are fucked, because every script kiddie in the world can break into your shit. But then if you find the ones that block all that stuff, and it truly takes custom code to bypass or get through to anything, then hey, your only shot is if a APT decides to target you. If that at that point, well, then you're fucked anyways, because everybody has flaws. There's no way to perfectly secure anything.
And as a pen tester too, it's like, it isn't our responsibility to fix it, or like we make recommendations, and I like that part, because it's like, hey, here's the problem. Like, come with a solution if you're going to come at me with a problem, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, because you're just bitching if you don't.
Yeah.
Right? It's like these security teams and these IT teams that are like, oh, this is fucked up. This is broke. This is this. This is that. This is this. What's your solution?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't got a solution, don't bitch to me. I don't want to hear it.
And it's just nice not knowing you don't have to worry about it anymore. Like I used to be the guy that would get tickets to fix things that were from a pen test, right? Like, you know, so it's like now it's like you just get to report it, but you shouldn't invest your mental energy or heart into them actually doing anything with the report. That's on them.
Yeah.
So like so I kind of developed sort of an attitude. I care. I want you to make these changes, but I'm not going to be invested in you making them.
Right. And that's one of the things. So as a consultant and a pen tester, and as a consultant more on my side, I do a lot of blue team work. We help develop a lot of programs and plans for vulnerability management and things of that nature. You know, I do pen testing. Most of my job is vuln management these days, but I still do pen testing. But yeah, you give them, hey, this is how you fix it. This is what you should do. This is how you can pass audits and do all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't make you.
Right.
I can tell you what to do. I can tell you how to do it, but I can't make you do it. I can only take you to water. I can't fucking make you drink it. That's basically what it comes down to.
But on the flip side too is like, I've been on tests where you talk to the customer, the clients, and maybe like one of the guys you're talking to is like the tech lead or the security guy. He's like, hey, I know this is terrible. I've been trying to get them to change it. So just so you know, there's two Windows 2008 boxes that are just floating around out there. And so sometimes it's also it's a good way to get a guy that's, you know, maybe fighting with the C-level or whatever to get positive change made. And your report, like, you're not doing it to please him. You're just reporting the facts. But it gets to help, you know, people like that, which I could identify with. I used to be the tech lead for tech ops and a subject matter expert in that domain. And like trying to get stuff done and getting stopped by C-levels or VPs is just, it's frustrating. But guess what?
Change costs money, and they ain't lying.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate too, because you're right. It does. Sometimes it takes security or IT or whoever's putting in the order for like a pen test or a consultant or something like that to point out and be like, hey, can you please give me some ammunition to take to the C-level to say, hey, this is fucked up, and if we get breached in any certain type of way, it's gonna be fucking here. And then they're gonna be like, and you're gonna go in here like, holy fuck, I just found the golden apple. We're going to town. Let's go. And so it gives them that ammunition. And it's good ammunition. It's things that they need. So you just hope that whatever you do helps improve their situation, because the whole goal of any pen tester, any consultant, anybody like that, is to help companies become more secure.
Yep.
That's our goal. It is not for our benefit. It is legitimately everything we do is for the client's benefit, to help them, to help secure their systems, to make sure that their employees and their clients don't get, you know, their data harvested. So, you know, for us, it's all about doing that. It's about finding those holes that, hey, if you can plug this, this is how. Like, if you're running some outdated software from 5 years ago, we got problems.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. And
especially if I'm hitting it first.
Yeah, right. So now here's my question for you though. With that, you were a programmer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How much of that background has and or will help you with your pen testing career?
I mean, that's easy to answer because I don't think you need a strong programming background. It's mainly the code that I write is done to save time, or, you know, maybe do the normal stuff of like update and exploit. But like I can code in like 20 languages, but it doesn't really.
God damn it! You know what? Get this shit out of here.
But it doesn't really matter because like a lot of the times I just write scripts to troll my coworkers. Like I'll write it in Perl, or I'll write it in PHP just to fuck with them, and it works every time. It's great. But my first programming gig was a Python job, so it's like I'm not averse to Python.
Python's awesome. I love Python. Python's my baby. I can read Python. I can't look. I ain't gonna lie. I can't do like elaborate codes. Like when I start getting into like more than 2 or 3 files, I start going, what the fuck am I looking at here?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But I like my scripts in like one file. I've never learned enough about coding or became versed in it to do object oriented, where you have classes and functions and they're all calling different files and different imports and doing different things.
Yeah, I would say for pen testing, none of that is really required because
give me a Bash script or a Python script that could just break the fuck in, and we're good to go.
Because there's two different goals, right? So like with a pen tester or hacking, like you're usually writing a script to achieve like the next step or a specific goal, and it doesn't have to live forever. Like you use it and then like you throw it away or save it somewhere in case you need to see that code again. But when you're doing software development, the code needs to survive for years, right? And it needs to be expanded upon and fixed. So there's different considerations, right? Because object-oriented programming and all that junk, like it's good for many reasons for reliability and reducing risk over time due to added change. But like for pen testing, you're just writing a script to do something. And if you're already a programmer, I was shocked when I looked at a lot of the software projects because very few of them are actually done well. Yeah. Right? Like some are done really well.
They're all slapped together. They're all like,
so
fuck it, let's go.
The bar is really low. But it's like it's really low or it's really high. There doesn't seem to be like a good one. I know there's
needs a good Python course.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I learned it a long time ago. I don't even know if I had a book at the time. It might have just been literally reading the website and just trying to do things.
So Jermaine, I will say this. Learn Python the hard way is one of the best beginner Python courses I have ever seen. I will say that. It is amazing if you go through the book and actually listen to the tutorials if you buy it, as far as his online stuff. Learn Python the hard way. I think it's .org. I can't remember. But he has Python 3. And he'll take you through everything. It is phenomenal. That one I'll recommend for a self-learner, for someone that's trying to learn on their own.
And Python's somewhat easy too because
it's very user-friendly.
I say easy because I started with C, assembly, and Perl. So like when you look at a Python script, like all Python code is essentially going to look exactly the same, right? So like the blocks are going to be the same. The functions are going to be like the same. Like variables are going to have the same, like 1 single underscore, 2 single or 2 underscores, or, all Python code will sort of look the same, and it's easy to understand. It's very like when you read it, like as a human, like you can sort of tell what's going on, right? You don't have to like decode it.
It is the most, from what I have noticed, and I've looked at a few different languages. I've worked in assembly a little bit. I've worked in C. I've worked in C++, Ruby, and I believe Perl and Python. And I've kind of nitpicked my way through those and figured out what things are doing and how things operate. Python, from all the languages I've looked at, and that I haven't looked at Rust or Go, so I don't know what any of the more modern languages are doing. But Python is probably the most user and reader friendly. So even if you don't know Python, you can read it and figure out exactly what's going on.
And another big perk that I love about Python is that it comes with tons of libraries already stock, right? So like making URL requests is already in there. Regex is already in there. Like all the stuff you think you could possibly need is in there. It didn't used to be like that, so it's nice that it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it used to be like, oh, if you need this, you have to bring in this library. So like think about like an early Java land where like if you needed something, you had to bring in this jar. You need this. And now we're
Yep.
stuck in this world of dependency hell where it's like once you start doing pen testing, you look at a lot of people's software projects and like some of these projects have like 200 plus dependencies, like all
Yep.
external. And some of it's just insane because like I started coding Rust this year too.
Oh, that's another newer one. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to learn Rust and Golang this year for work. But like like Rust has that same frustrating problem with other languages where it's like, oh, I need another library to do this one basic thing. You know, I need to make a web request. Oh, I need like 30 different dependencies. I'm exaggerating, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
And
Python, like you don't have as many of those external dependencies, or hopefully you wouldn't. Should be minimal. But,
import sys or system, system. I think it's
yeah.
import system. Might be import sys, but I think it's import system.
Yeah.
But gives you all the system commands for any operating system.
Well,
You can literally interact with Linux, Mac, or Windows with that import.
also Python has self-documenting that's baked in, right? So like if you're on the interactive prompt for Python, like you can I believe like you can do dot dash dash doc dash dash something like that. I forget exactly right now because I'm a little messed up, but uh,
Ain't we all? It's
But,
happy hour, dude. That's the
no,
point. Let's go.
But Python has a way where you can look up what functions are in a module or class or anything else, and then you can look up what its arguments are and what it does, like all within that interactive prompt. Like you don't have to leave it if you don't want to. It's easier now online or a reference book, but I appreciated that with Python, and you could just test stuff out interactively without having to like write a script, compile it, test it, write a script, compile it, test it.
Yeah.
Like you just test things out right then and there. It's great. And
I will say that the two languages, one, I mean, technically it's a language, technically it's not, I don't know, it's a scripting language. But the two things that I will say about scripting, there are two that you should know. Bash, because if you can automate anything you do in Linux, please fucking do it, especially if you do it on a daily basis. I built a search and find script just because I got tired of fucking figuring out set options. So I made something that worked for me, and that's okay. Or Python. Those are both probably the best starter languages if you're just digging in as a pen tester or as someone who's just breaking into cybersecurity. Because other than, I think Metasploit is Ruby, but SE Toolkit is Python, and
Impacket is Python.
So
like
lot
pretty
of your
much most of your tooling now is all Python in the security world. Like
Metasploit, I think, is the only one that's being a pain in the dick.
Yeah, I think it was like Perl before, and then they migrated to Ruby. Don't quote me on that. I don't know that for fact.
I don't know offhand because I remember working with Rapid7 on Metasploit. I did a few things. I looked at some of their custom exploits that you could kind of import and stuff like that. And then Nexpose and some of the more commercial products, I want to say they separated it to where Metasploit was Ruby and their commercial products were Perl. I want to say that's the way they kind of separated those off, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I think Nexpose, or how you pronounce it, was originally written in Java, because I remember it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I happen to know someone, where like I knew Chad Loader when he was building this stuff.
Yeah.
Like back when I was getting started, 20 something years ago, he was building this security scanner in like 2003. But yeah, for automating stuff, I would say it's good to be a lazy programmer, a lazy sysadmin, in the way that why would you repeat the same thing more than once? Like if the time it takes to invest in automating saves you more time than you doing it manually multiple times, like just fucking automate it, and you're less error prone. Like, it's all about mitigating risk when you're a sysadmin.
Exactly. So we got a good one here. John, good. Hey, John, thanks for joining us again. I got my buddy SARNAR, Infinite Improbability
Yeah,
AI in the comments. But
John's right on it.
John coming in here in the clutch, and
Yep.
he reiterates a lot of things we just talked about. He always recommends people getting into cybersecurity to try and learn Bash, PowerShell, and Python. Although you're most likely going to use Bash and Python, except for specific situations. And he's not wrong. I will say this. I despise PowerShell. I use it. I've learned it. I still despise it. It is the bane of my existence because Microsoft came up with the most fucked up way to write commands. And it's like, invoke this or do that.
Yeah.
And it's all imports and invokes. And
But
why can't I just say get or like, hey, I want to do http.requests or something? Like, come on. You're killing me,
Right.
PowerShell.
Yeah, try to write a wget that ignores web certificates using just PowerShell. Like it's
brutal.
But it's on every Windows system, so and like so much of the Windows API is easily hooked up into PowerShell. So like I mean, PowerShell's still used a lot on internals.
So before we go, we're at the top of the hour. Before we sign off, I got to say this, and I want your take on this.
All right, you got it.
So, in the military, right? There were, of course, PowerShell had come out. Now, you and I both know, which would you rather, as a red teamer or pen tester, have on a system? CMD or PowerShell?
Really, a PowerShell every day. Like it's a full blown. It's like I get all the features of CMD, and I get a programming language that's directly hooked into everything. I mean, the only risk would be that it would get flagged because I'm running that binary, and usually people don't run that binary. But I'm not a red teamer, so
before I left, it had been fixed. So I ain't gonna say it's still out there. Look, don't get mad at me. I just fucking happen to know shit. But CMD for general users was removed. PowerShell was still there.
Oh, well, there you go.
PowerShell is known to be the easiest way prior to EDR. Again, this is going back a few years, so things have changed. Don't fucking bullshit my comments and fuck shit up. But things have changed since then. But at the time, PowerShell was still on the systems. PowerShell was the easiest way to elevate privileges, especially before EDR became prevalent. So what the fuck kind of sense did that make?
Yep, it's a little fucked up. But, I mean, it's also fucked up that admins didn't do their job well enough either, so.
I had it out with the security teams. I was like, look, why the fuck is this still there? I literally walked up to them and was like, why is still this? Why am I blocked from CMD and not PowerShell? What the fuck is going on here?
I would say I don't have the link with me, but a good resource for learning PowerShell is, I have the book over here, Learn Windows PowerShell in like a month of lunches, something like this. There's a book, but there's also, this guy did a series of YouTube videos where it takes each one for each day and breaks it up, and they're very small. So like PowerShell's not hard, it's just annoying to code in.
It is. That's the biggest thing. It's not that it's hard to learn. It's not that when you see the way it works and the different commands that it has, it's not hard to understand. It's just they're so fucking long to do one simple thing. But what I have learned, and I will say this, they allow shortening of things. So how I mentioned invoke web requests. If you are listening to this, or for all my people watching live, IWR will invoke web requests. You can use shorthand. You can use the first three letters of your command. So it does help a lot. But before we go off air, Christoff, look, it's been a pleasure having you on here. Please, before we go, give all of our watchers, viewers, and listeners your final words.
My final words. I guess if you're looking to be a pen tester and you're afraid or you think it's not for you, do it anyway. because we need you in this field, and there's more than enough room, and it's not as hard as you think. And I think finally you'll find that there might be a little bit of resistance from a community if you're asking like questions you could easily look up. But I think once you start making it on your way, you'll be welcomed with open arms, and people would love to help you. So I just say stick with it. Don't give up on yourself. And, there's a community here waiting for you.
Definitely. And that's the big thing is about this is community. And one of the things I will always be grateful for is the community that built. Christoff, you've been a huge part of that for 2-3 years now.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
And it's been amazing seeing you and seeing where you've gotten to in your career so far. You are one of the people that I think at one point you didn't even think you were going to get into pen testing. You had been trying for so long and it just didn't happen. And to see you there now and to see your success story and the fact that you are with an amazing organization. I can't say enough good things about Team Aries. Like I said, I've talked to the people that work there. They are some great human beings. They know their shit. So by all means, I am so happy the fact that you are working for them. And I think they're going to teach you a lot and really get you to where you want to go in your career. Before signing off, though, I do want to say this. Look, if you are watching right now, if you're watching on a recording, if you're live, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you have not done so yet, please do so. Also, come back after I go off air and please leave a comment. I'm begging you, please leave a comment because it does help with the algorithm. What many of you don't know, it is your interaction after the fact that matters, not so much your interaction during. So please make sure you do all those things. Otherwise, I love every single one of you. You're all amazing and beautiful people. I am the Cyber Warrior. This is CyberWarriorStudios, and this is Security Happy Hour. So without further ado, I love you. Be amazing. Go off and conquer the world, and I'll see you next time.